Welcome to a breaking news CLNS Red Sox roundtable. Alex Barth along with Matt McCarthy. News Friday morning, Hanley Ramirez designated for assignment. His time with the Red Sox, at least for now, is over. Matt, the first question I think everybody had, why Hanley and why now?
Yeah, how's this to a start for your holiday weekend? You think you're just going to ease into it and have the Celtics ready to go? And yeah, no, that's this is pretty shocking, no doubt about it. I mean, listen, I was advocating for something that I deemed to be drastic, which was optioning Jackie Bradley Jr. to Pawtucket, which I thought would be a drastic enough move. I thought, frankly, they were just going to, DFA Blake Swihart or, maybe put Eduardo Nunez on the DL with a phantom injury. I did not see this coming. Why this has happened, I mean, I think that's pretty clear. They do not want him to hit his 489 plate appearances and have that option vest. That being said, Alex, I think this is a mistake because you can manage those plate appearances. They have not managed his plate appearances to this point of the year. I mean, he played, I think, the most out of every single Red Sox player in April, including Mookie Betts. So Hanley Ramirez has gotten plenty of plate appearances this year. You can move him to the bench. You can move him around. You can have him play against lefties because Moreland is hot and is hitting against righties. There were a lot of options that they could have done with Hanley Ramirez. I think this is far too drastic a measure, and they should not have taken this approach. I'm against this move. This is a bad decision by the Red Sox.
Yeah, this is a team, and we talk about JD Martinez, we talk about Mookie Betts and what they've done, but it's a team, I think it's fair to say, at times has struggled for offense. And as cold as Hanley's been, we know what he is when he's on. And look, maybe a phantom DL trip for him would have helped out, something to get him focused, but they're giving up a lot of potential offense with this move just to what? Get another 260, 270 hitter in the lineup? And I understand the vesting option, and long-term, it may even be a good move, whether it's more money for Mookie Betts, whether it's more money for Craig Kimbrell. I've seen people on Twitter saying that the $22 million could possibly go to Bryce Harper. I don't know about that one, but long-term, it might be a good move. But why you do it today, why you do it here at the end of May instead of maybe down the road if he continues to struggle, I don't know. There were other ways to get Dustin Pedroia on the roster besides DFA'ing Hanley Ramirez. And now he's out there. And there's people on Twitter doing the research. I've seen it both ways, but hypothetically, let's say a team does claim him. Let's say he does get moved, and then he hits that vesting option elsewhere. The Red Sox might still have to pay it. Now, I don't know if he'll get claimed, and Matt, I'd love to get your thoughts on that, but it seems very risky because you may still end up having to pay the guy.
That's a good point. So I hadn't thought about another team picking him up and then the Red Sox being responsible for that vesting option. I don't know if we know the answer to that. That's the type of thing we might have to get some clarification from one of the
Nobody on Twitter seems to know the answer, but let's just play devil's advocate. We're Sports Hub guys. Let's take the negative angle.
That could be possible. Something tells me it's not, because something tells me the real reason they did this was the vesting option. So I would think that maybe there's contract language in there that prevents that option from being the responsibility of the Red Sox. They are responsible for that $15 million this year, though. I would be surprised if that were the case. And if it is, it only makes the decision even worse, because I think there is a chance that he does get claimed. Some team might say, oh, we'll take the contract. That's all right. Hanley Ramirez can give us something. It's possible that he also goes through waivers. I mean, he's going to end up somewhere. And I think he's probably got some value via trade, which, they can obviously pursue now that he's been designated for assignment. So I think what ends up happening with Hanley this year is fascinating. I agree with you that this is a good move long-term for the Red Sox. I don't think anybody can disagree with that. Even if he had a great season this year and he was off to a great start in April, you don't want him next year for $22 million. You do not want that contract. However, what does this mean for the Red Sox in the short term? Hanley was great in April. He was one of their best hitters. You could make the argument, for a stretch there, he was their best hitter. He's 0 for May, essentially. But they still need right-handed bats, Alex. Like right now, they've got a situation where they do not have a right-handed bat off the bench. Now, Pedroia is coming back, so Nunez moves to the bench. They still need somebody with pop off the bench as a right-handed hitter. Why can't that be Hanley Ramirez? The only reason I think they probably made this move is they probably thought he wouldn't handle it well. Because if you're the player and you move Hanley into a part-time role, you're saying the team's out to get me. The team's screwing me. The team's trying to prevent me from hitting those 489 plate appearances. Because if he moves to a part-time player, which would have been best for the Red Sox, I mean, I think we can all agree with Mitch Moreland hitting and the crowded situation elsewhere and Dustin Pedroia coming back, the best situation for them would be to have Hanley hit against lefties. But was Hanley going to be willing to do that? And I think we're going to have to figure that out over the next few days. Were they concerned that Hanley was going to become a problem if they moved him to a part-time player? Because if I'm Hanley, I'm not happy if I'm getting moved to being a part-time guy because I'm missing out on my option. Designate me for assignment. That's fine. Just pay me. But don't make me a part-time player. That's probably the concern that they had. But to me, you got to try it out. And if he becomes a problem, then you get rid of him. But they should have tried that out first.
And aren't you risking the clubhouse in this move as well?
Yes.
We know how popular Hanley is in that room, and then you're taking him out. You're adding in Dustin Pedroia, who, let's just say, his record as a teammate in the last 2 years has been spotty.
Mm-hmm.
I'm worried about what this is going to do to the team both in the clubhouse and on the field. Let's say Blake Swihart is the replacement at first base, at least against lefties. Against left-handed hitters, your bottom three, your 7, 8, 9 are Swihart, whatever schlub you have catching that day, and Jackie Bradley Jr.
It's not good.
That's not good enough. Now, if there's a follow-up move, I feel a little better about this. I still think the move for them to make is to go out and trade for a catcher, whether it's Real Muto down in Miami, whether it's Lucroy. Go out and get a catcher who's at least proven he can hit outside of Sandy Leon's half a season.
How do you get that guy? Though, like, in all seriousness,
you hope Swihart has some value left, I guess.
The only way
that's what I'm wrestling with.
Swihart gets value is if Swihart plays. So Blake Swihart is the real winner here. I mean, if you had asked me a day ago, I thought the Red Sox were going to designate him for assignment, which I was not a fan of. But I will say this, you give me a choice between designating Blake Swihart and keeping Hanley Ramirez, I'm going to keep Hanley Ramirez because I'm not sold on Blake Swihart long-term. Now, again, better move for the Red Sox long-term, not so good in the short term. Alex, they have one of the best records in baseball, and you just designated your regular number 3 hitter for assignment. They are a worse team now than they were a few hours ago, and that's a problem. You needed to try this out first. You needed to try Hanley as essentially a guy who's in there against lefties and playing against some righties. You needed to try that situation first before you made this move. This is a bad move for the Red Sox.
And I think, if they're if they're at 500 or under, we're talking about what a brave move by Dave Dombrowski, setting them up.
Then it makes all the sense in the world. It makes all the sense in the world if they're in that situation. We think they can compete for a World Series this year. How, legitimate you think that is, I guess it depends on where you stand. But the fact of the matter is they're one of the best 3 teams in the American League. Generally, when you're one of the best 3 teams in the American League, you're not designating your number 3 hitter for assignment.
Well, let me ask you this then here to wrap this up, because we are a little bit up against it, Matt. But Dave Dombrowski just knowingly made a contending team worse. And we know, obviously, he wouldn't have wanted Hanley to hit the option. He wants the money to work with, etc. But Cora kept playing him. Is Dave Dombrowski sticking it to Alex Cora? Do you think this could create a disconnect between the director of baseball operations and the manager?
Potentially, although I do get the sense that this is probably a decision that they made together. I believe the reason they made the decision is because Ramirez wasn't willing to be a part-time player. So if Ramirez is not willing...
Or do you think they assumed that?
I would hope that they asked him. I don't know for sure, but they better have asked him. So if he's not willing to be a part-time player, then Dave Dombrowski is doing his manager a favor. If they did not ask him, then there's probably a disconnect between baseball operations and the manager. Because if I'm Alex Cora, I'm saying, wait a minute, I want this piece to work with. Unless Alex Cora knows how Hanley Ramirez feels about this, then yeah, you could say there's maybe a disconnect. We don't know that. We don't know that for sure.
And of course, we'll have more on Hanley no longer on the roster, what this means going forward on further Red Sox coverage. You can follow us on Twitter at Red Sox CLNS and check us out online at clnsmedia.com. Matt McCarthy, the host of Hardcore Baseball on the 98.5 Sports Hub podcast. Thanks so much for joining us.
Always good to be on with you, Alex.
We'll talk to you guys next time. Thanks for watching.